This course covers formal and informal assessment of reading and language arts. My name is Dr. Dana Arrowwood. Let's begin. I'm going to go over the syllabus and assignments with you. You may find it helpful to be viewing the syllabus as I talk. After that, specific assessments and assignments will be discussed. The focus of this course is assessment related to reading and other literacies. It will draw upon your prior knowledge from other literacy courses you have taken and experiences that you've had in the classroom. One of the first things you'll need to do for this course is to find 2 students to assess. You will be assessing these students in order to gain experience in administering and interpreting informal assessments. The first student should not have completed first grade yet. A beginning reader, either a first grader or kindergartner, is suitable for the first set of assessments. The second student you will need can be one who is in 2nd grade through 10th grade. Keep this in mind as we proceed through this overview. The first report covers emergent literacy. You will assess the beginning reader in order to complete this report. These assessments are inappropriate for students who are already able to read. This report is the only one that requires a beginning reader. Report 2 is over strategic knowledge and affective factors. For this report, you will administer surveys to the second student. This is the student who needs to be already reading. The list of surveys can be found in the syllabus. It may be that you continue assessing this particular student for the remainder of the reports. Report 3 covers word recognition, fluency, and spelling. You will administer these assessments to the second student who is reading. This may be the same student you assess for Report 2. The list of assessments can be found in the syllabus. Report 4 is the comprehension report. Again, the list of assessments can be found in the syllabus. You may continue assessing the student from Reports 2 and 3. These assessments are appropriate for a student who is able to read. Report 4 will be submitted in TK20 for grading. It's important to note that the students assessed in Reports 2 through 4 may be the same. If for scheduling purposes you are unable to meet with and assess this student for these 3 reports, it's fine to locate another student to assess. The required books for this course include the McKenna and Stahl textbook, Assessment for Reading Instruction, 2nd edition, and the Informal Reading Inventory by Rowe and Burns. Running Records for Classroom Teachers by Maury Clay is optional. If you are experienced at taking running records, you may not need to buy the book. This class is divided into 5 weeks. The topics addressed include Introduction to Literacy Assessment, Emergent Literacy, Strategic Knowledge and Affective Factors, Word Recognition, Fluency, and Spelling, Informal Reading Inventories and Comprehension Assessments, Strategies for Reading Traditional and Internet Text, and Literacy Reports, Communicating Assessment Outcomes. Each week you will participate in the discussion board. Your first assignment is to share information about yourself with your instructor and classmates to help us get to know you. Some of the questions you might want to answer are, why did you choose to go into teaching? What kinds of experiences have you had in teaching? For example, public school classroom teaching, private school teaching, tutoring, teaching swimming, doing workshops for the Girl Scouts, etc. Feel free to share anything else that would help us get to know you. Your introductory message should be approximately 250 to 300 words. When you respond to your classmates' postings, please keep all of your responses positive. You can disagree, but please think before you type. In the application assignments for this course, you will administer informal assessments. During the first 4 weeks of the course, you will be meeting with a student and administer these assessments. You will have a list of which assessments to administer for each particular week. This information is found in the syllabus. Try to stay on schedule. This is a fast-paced course and you will have to be careful not to get behind. In addition to administering a battery of assessments, you will be interpreting the results and making recommendations. These 5 recommendations are for parents or caregivers of the student whom you are assessing. They should be easy for a non-educator to follow. You may need to meet with a student an additional time during the week to cover all of the required assessments. Another requirement for this course is the weekly learning log. Each week you will submit a learning log that combines your assigned readings with your reflection on your assessment session. Each learning log should include the number of assessment session, the chapter numbers of the textbook, and the name of the additional readings that may be included, such as the article on the Elementary Reading Attitude Survey. The class discussion has two parts, the response and reflection. You will read the assigned chapters from the required textbooks and the additional readings. Then you will relate your reflection of your assessment session to them and post an original summary of it. Once everyone has posted a summary, you will return and read your peers' summaries and choose at least two of which to reply according to the format. In Chapter 2, formal assessments and how to interpret them are discussed. Please be sure to include your experiences with formal assessments in your summary. This chapter will be especially useful to you as you prepare to take your Reading Specialist, Texas, or Master Reading Teacher exam. Now to this week's content. In your readings for this week, you will read about formal and informal assessments. Formal assessments are standardized tests that are given under controlled conditions. This means the same type of conditions, or standard conditions, in order to compare groups with similar backgrounds. These include intelligence tests, achievement tests that can be norm-referenced, which compare performance of students to a group on which it was standardized, or criterion reference tests that measure a particular skill, and diagnostic tests that aim to determine a student's strengths and weaknesses. An example of a diagnostic test is the Woodcock Reading Mastery Test. One of the criticisms of formal assessments is that most are in a multiple choice format and the child might happen to guess the answer correctly. They are designed for reliability and validity. Informal assessments, on the other hand, are generally given by the teacher in the classroom setting. Each week you are assigned specific informal assessments to administer during your sessions. These assessments are to be administered, scored after the session, interpreted, and the outcomes written up for your report. These written reports will be submitted weekly. You will find a complete listing of the required assessments in the syllabus. Next, we are going to discuss the assessments that you will give during week 1. The alphabetic recognition assessment is found in the Emergent Literacy chapter of your textbook. Recognizing the letters of the alphabet is an important prerequisite for reading. Be sure to read the instructions in the chapter and use the grid provided for you at the end of the chapter. The book handling knowledge assessment is administered to determine if the student is familiar with such things as where to start when reading a book and the directionality of print. You may encounter students who do not have access to books in their home. When this is the case, they may lack basic knowledge of book handling skills. These are important concepts for the emergent reader. You will also need to administer the Dictation for Phonological Awareness assessment. This assessment can also be found at the end of the chapter on emergent literacy. You should be aware that there are many adults and older students who are emergent readers. Do not assume that these assessments are useful only for younger students. For each student that you assess, you will need to have the parent or caregiver complete the parent survey. The information is gathered in this survey and it will assist you when making recommendations for the student. This information will go into the background section of each of your reports. It is important to obtain some information on literacy in your student's home. This information will help you when you make recommendations based on your assessment outcomes. You will need to have the parent fill out the parent interview form. If you prefer, you can speak to the parent informally and gather this information. The information will be written up in the background section of your report. You will need to administer the parent interview to a parent or guardian of each student that you assess. The parent permission form is a very important document. You will need to get signed permission from the parent or guardian of each student that you assess to administer the assessments. You will then need to either scan the form or take a good digital photo of it in which the signature is legible. The digitized permission form must be inserted and present at the end of each report. Know when your assignments are due. Check the calendar provided for you. Please post any questions you may have on this week's discussion board. We are looking forward to working with you in this course.